Hello everybody, welcome back to Start Crochet. Today I wanted to address a little issue I found people talking about on various Facebook groups concerning their worry worms. A lot of people say they love making worry worms, but their problem is that they just don't curl properly. I just wanted to show you some tips and tricks on how to make the perfect worry worms that curl properly every time. So I wanted to show you today various worry worms I designed over time, and most of them use the same technique. It's all hyperbolic crochet to create these curls in the worms. The corkscrew spirals, I used sometimes single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet. The stitch itself doesn't really matter. It just creates a different style of worry worm. I used different types of yarn. As you can see, there's cotton, there's acrylic. They all work out just fine. You just need to know a few tricks on how to make your worry worm curl properly. Make sure you're using an appropriate yarn for the type of worry worm that you're creating. So let's say you want to make a basic worry worm like these here. For these, I would recommend Aran weight acrylic yarn. This is nice. It's kind of heavy. It's easy to work with. If you're a beginner, I would highly recommend this yarn. And use maybe between a 4 or a 4.5 millimeter hook for this type of yarn. Try to make 3 stitches per chain going up the body of your worry worm and see how that works. If you feel that you need more volume in your worm, then add a stitch per chain. There are types of yarn that are not appropriate for worry worms, or I just wouldn't recommend them. Yarns that are maybe too thin, like this cotton thread, this probably wouldn't create a nice curl. Or fluffy or fuzzy yarns like this one would also be quite difficult to work with. I mean, if you're an advanced crocheter, of course, you can try with that. Or maybe tinsel yarn, I would not recommend because it's so difficult to see the stitches when you're working the body of your worry worm. The second tip, I would suggest using an appropriate hook size. Check the yarn label, and if you feel your worry worm needs more volume or looks a bit skinny, then go down a hook size so the stitches are tighter and not so loose. The third tip I have for you today is to make sure that when you're crocheting into the chain, that you're actually crocheting into each and every chain stitch. I'll show you something. So let's say here's your chain. Let's just chain 5 for demonstration. Okay. When you start crocheting the body of your worry worm into the second chain from your hook, let's say you make 3 single crochets in here, for instance. What you'll notice is you'll have this little gap here that, you've pulled the chain open. And you think this will look bad in the end, but it actually won't. You won't notice it at all. But what happens is that you kind of pull the next stitch tighter as you're pulling this one looser. So just make sure that you're crocheting into every single chain of your worry worm's body to make sure that you have proper curls in the end, okay? The other thing is, as you're crocheting into the chain, some people crochet into both loops here. And that also creates a bit of a problem. Make sure you only pick up that very top loop here of your chain and work only in the top loops for the body of your worry worm. Another tip is crochet a minimum of 3 stitches per chain. 2 will definitely not be enough. You can crochet 3 or even 4 or 5 if you're working with a thinner yarn. And that will create more volume for the body of your worry worm. You see, I'll just show you some here. These bunny ones are quite dainty. That's, I wanted them to be kind of not too thick. So these are made with double crochets with 3 double crochets in each chain. For these Halloween black cats, I used a much thicker yarn, heavier weight yarn. So the type of yarn also makes a difference in how the worry worms, handle themselves. For these, I used cotton yarn. Look at the texture here. It feels very nice holding it. So this is a DK cotton yarn, Rico Rumi, for this kitty with a cat hat. See, it's wearing a cat hat here. And here I used acrylic yarn for the elf and the gnomes for Christmas. This is an acrylic yarn. I used Paintbox Yarns, DK here. And for the bee, I also used cotton yarn. And this is a double striped one. I'll link all these patterns in the description below if you're interested. Another piece of advice I could give you is make sure that once you're done with your worry worm, you curl it physically. Because a lot of times when you're done crocheting the body, it kind of looks like that and it's not very pretty. So you do have to go in and adjust the curls by twisting them into place with your hands like that. Just keep twisting, keep twisting. You see here, you can twist it into place. Twist, twist, twist until it looks perfect like that. I hope you found these tips helpful. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And I'll try to answer them for you as soon as I can. All right. Have a lovely day. Bye.